Hola amigos. In this video, I just wanted to go through this activity that was assigned on VHL. This is about us working with the subjunctive and adjective clauses. So we went over this in class where we talked about there are three main rules of when we use the subjunctive in an adjective clause. First one is the one we work with the most, and that's when we have to determine whether or not what noun we're describing is a specific entity. Are we referring to something specifically? Is there a certain doctor that we're talking about when we describe this doctor, or are we just talking in general? And if we're talking a specific one, we use the indicative. If it's in general, we're not talking about, we don't have a specific doctor in mind, then we would use the subjunctive. So that was our first rule. Second rule is we're asking whether or not this person or thing exists at all. So that's our second rule. I might say, is there a restaurant around here that serves good, authentic Mexican food? Is there a doctor here that specializes in shoulders? So we're just asking if they exist. And so that's another common use of the subjunctive with an adjective clause. And then the third one, if they just plain and simple don't exist. There isn't a doctor that specializes in shoulders. There isn't a restaurant around here that serves good, authentic Mexican food. So they just don't exist. They're not, this person isn't there. There isn't a restaurant there. There isn't a place. There isn't a thing. Whatever it is, if it's just plain and simple, there isn't any of them, we use the subjunctive when we modify that in a clause. So let's go through these. This was posted into today's VHL, but necesito al doctor Ramirez, un médico que. So I need Dr. Ramirez. Can't get much more specific than that. We actually named this person. So we definitely have a specific doctor in mind. So when we describe him and say un médico que, we want to use the indicative to describe what type of doctor he is. He's one that has lots of experience in surgeries. So we will use tiene because we're talking about a specific doctor, un médico. Without context, you might not realize that's specific, but we have necesito al doctor Ramirez right before it. All right, continue on. Debes encontrar un especialista que, it's going to be either sabe or sepa, but you should find a specialist that knows about your illness. And what specialist are we talking about? Are we talking about a specific person, a specific specialist? No, we're not. So you should find a specialist. Who that is, I don't know. So we use the subjunctive sepa to go in this clause. Nos vamos a la clínica que está o esté cerca de nuestra casa. We know it's going to be, so we're going to the clinic that is close to our house. So are we talking about a specific clinic? We're describing the clinic. So is this the clinic that it's a specific one or not? And we're going to the clinic that is close to us. I think that context tells us that it is a specific clinic. We're going to use está. Now, if we were hoping to, start going to a new clinic, we want to find one that's by our house. In that case, if you're talking about, I want to start going to a clinic that's close to our house, and I'm not talking about a specific one, then I would use the subjunctive in that case. But here, that's not the case. We're talking about a specific one. So está, indicative. En mi pueblo hay un doctor. There's a big clue right there. Hay un doctor. There is a doctor. I told you about rule number 2 was, asking about its existence. And number 3 was it just doesn't exist. So its counterpart, it does exist, is going to be indicative. En mi pueblo hay un doctor. There is a doctor. And we're describing this doctor que trabaja using the indicative los fines de semana. So this doctor exists. We're talking about a specific one. Trabaja. No encuentro ningún enfermero. So ningún is a big clue here. No encuentro, like basically I'm not finding, I can't find any nurse, I can't find any of them. So this is more like none nurse, more literal, but we would not translate it like that. So I'm not finding any nurse that helps in the emergency room. This is ayude or ayuda. Let me see if I can scroll a little bit more so you can see better. So ayude or ayuda. And this is, we're gonna rule 1, and we're talking about a specific person. Oh, well, no. But rule 2, are we asking about their existence? No, not really. And rule 3, it just does not exist. And that is the case here. And this is why we're gonna use ayude, the subjunctive of ayudar, because it is, this person does not exist. Busco un cirujano, I'm looking for a surgeon. All right, right there is probably enough context for us to realize we're not talking about a specific surgeon. So, busco un cirujano que pueda, the subjunctive, or puede, the indicative, operar en una emergencia. So we're not talking about a specific surgeon. I'm looking for a surgeon that can operate. So we're going to go subjunctive because it's not a specific surgeon. So we get pueda. So let's go ahead and just check our answers and they'll all be right because that's what we do. All right. Muy bien. If you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out. Hasta la próxima.